In our headlines on this Friday, October 31st, in South Korea. The APEC leaders meeting starts earlier this morning for 2 days of policy recommendation discussions on largely digital transformation and demographic transition amid hopes for a Gyeongju Declaration tomorrow. Meanwhile, on the margins of the main multilateral meeting, President Lee Jae-myung continues to sit down separately with his APEC counterparts, including the leaders of the UAE, the Philippines and Chile today. And on the business front, the President seeks talks with members of the APEC Business Advisory Council to address prospects of productive partnership. Hello and welcome to the Daily Report for this Friday, October 31st. I'm Min San-hee. Our newscast today also comes to you in a special format as we at Arirang News share with you team coverage of South Korea's hosting of this year's APEC Forum. Having said that, I now turn to our studio setup in the historic city of Gyeongju, where my colleague Kim Dami is standing by. Dami, it's great to have you on.
Good afternoon, Sunny. It's been another sunny, breezy day here in Gyeongju. And the official first day of APEC gathering is well underway, with the leaders meeting as well as bilateral summits hosted by President Lee Jae-myung. But first, let us recap the APEC leaders meeting that kicked off this morning with cooperation and connectivity front and center. We connect with our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min at the International Media Center. Jung-min, what were the key takeaways from the first session?
Tommy, so the first APEC session began under the theme of towards a more connected, resilient region and beyond to seek ways to enhance trade and investment. As host, President Lee Jae-myung stressed the need for global solidarity and cooperation in the face of increasing global protectionism, where Korea hopes to play a role as a bridge along the way.
우리 모두는 국제 질서가 격변하는 중대한 변곡점 위에 서 있습니다. 협력과 연대만이 우리를 더 나은 미래로 이끄는 확실한 해답입니다.
He underscored the Hwabaek spirit of harmony and coexistence, originating from the ancient Silla Kingdom, which used to be based in Gyeongju. We are expecting the Gyeongju Declaration tomorrow on the final day of the two-day session. Present were the leaders of 21 APEC members, including Chinese President Xi Jinping, Japan's Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi, and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva and Crown Prince Khalid of the UAE also joined the session as special guests. U.S. President Donald Trump returned home early, so his Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is filling in for him.
Now, Jung-min, ahead of the session, we saw President Lee Jae-myung greeting the leaders one by one this morning, and that's where he met Chinese President Xi Jinping for the first time, right?
That's right. So the South Korean leader gave a warm welcome to each and every guest upon arrival here at the summit venue. And I should note that security and traffic control is very tight here. Chinese President Xi Jinping was the last guest to arrive at the venue, and he met President Lee for the first time, shaking hands and taking a photo. The Chinese leader is visiting Korea for the first time in 11 years, and he is set to meet his South Korean counterpart one-on-one tomorrow. The leaders will address denuclearization of the Korean peninsula and peace efforts, as well as ways to resolve issues related to people's livelihoods in both countries. During the first APEC session, which was held behind closed doors, Xi called for joint efforts to safeguard a multilateral trading system and build an open regional economic environment, according to a Chinese report. Back to you, Tami.
All right, Jung-min, thanks for that report. That was our Yoon Jung-min live from the International Media Center. And APEC Day 1 is still in full swing, with APEC member leaders set to gather again for a gala dinner this evening. Ahead of hosting them, President Lee Jae-myung sat down for summit talks with the leaders of the UAE, the Philippines, and Chile. Our Kim Hea Kyung reports. Calling a strong and traditional ally, President Lee Jae-myung met with Crown Prince Khalid of Abu Dhabi on Friday, shortly after the first APEC leaders meeting session. The United Arab Emirates is not a member of APEC, but attended the summit in Gyeongju as the leader of a special guest nation. Reminding the Crown Prince that Gyeongju was a place that engaged in exchanges with the Islamic world 1,000 years ago, President Lee referred to the UAE as the only country in the Middle East that maintains a special strategic partnership with the Republic of Korea.
UAE는 대한민국의 아주 강력한 전통적 우방 국가인데 왕세자님의 방한을 계기로 한국과 아랍에미리트 간의 관계가 한층 더 발전하기를 기대합니다.
The Crown Prince underlined how the UAE's relationship with South Korea is a special and important one, saying what makes it special is that it is built on trust. While pointing out that strengthening ties and cooperation among Asian nations is also a priority for the UAE, he invited Lee to visit Abu Dhabi in November.
We look forward to welcoming the President to the UAE in November. As this will be his first visit since taking office, we will make every effort to host him with the utmost care and respect.
President Lee continued his busy itinerary, holding Korea-Philippines and Korea-Chile summits Friday afternoon, which will be followed by the gala dinner. The APEC Economic Leaders Meeting Gala Dinner, considered one of the highlights of the event, is expected to be attended by around 400 guests, including leaders of the 21 APEC members and invited economies, heads of international organizations, and global CEOs. Chef Edward Lee, known for his appearance on the Netflix cooking competition show Culinary Class Wars, will show off a harmonious blend of Korean and Western cuisines, featuring bibimbap and galbijjim, braised short ribs made with ingredients from Gyeongju, showcasing authentic Korean flavors alongside Western-style dishes such as pies and caramel desserts. A cultural performance titled Journey of a Butterfly Together We Fly will take place after the dinner, featuring G-Dragon. Kim Hea Kyung, Arirang News. And the South Korean leader has also made time to meet with global economic chiefs from the private sector here in Gyeongju to promote Seoul as an attractive investment destination. Our Park Hyo-bin has the details.
President Lee Jae-myung met with key global figures from APEC Business Advisory Council on Friday afternoon to further discuss global economic cooperation and AI-related issues. Earlier in talks with ABAC, President Lee reaffirmed his pledge to build a practical, market-oriented government, highlighting South Korea's potential as a promising destination for firms to invest in.
우리 한국 경제는 성장과 도약을 이뤄낼 것입니다. 대한민국은 더욱 매력적인 투자처로 거듭나게 될 것이라고 확신합니다.
He also promised continuous cooperation and innovation with the members of ABAC.
여러분들이 두려움 없이 더 많이 교류하고 거듭 혁신할 수 있도록 저와 APEC 지도자들은 적극적인 지원과 노력을 아끼지 않을 것입니다.
President Lee also joined a small group discussion with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and ABAC members, where they explored ways to strengthen public-private cooperation in addressing artificial intelligence and demographic changes. At the heart of APEC 2025 Korea, the message from South Korea was clear. Partnership and innovation are key to the future. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Now, APEC CEO Summit Korea concludes its four-day run on a Friday with Nvidia CEO's special speech on AI vision. And now, Huang emphasized that AI will profoundly impact every industry and underscored the critical importance of building robust AI infrastructure. He also announced Nvidia's plan to deploy 250,000 more GPUs in South Korea, partnering with local tech giants such as Samsung Electronics, SK US key group Hyundai and Naver. This initiative aims to establish Korea as one of the world's largest AI infrastructure hubs. Huang also stated that the AI era offers immense opportunities for Korea, attributing this to the nation's software expertise, a deep technical capability, and manufacturing prowess, three core strengths vital for the AI era. In the meantime, South Korea is striving to realize the Gyeongju Declaration to reflect APEC's spirit of free and open trade and economic cooperation. But how close are we to the Gyeongju Declaration? For that, we turn to Professor Lee Hyun joining us in the studio. Welcome, Professor Lee.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And also on my right is our foreign affairs correspondent, Oh Seong. Welcome back, Seong.
Lovely to be here again.
So, Seong, it looks like the leaders are still working on finalizing the declaration. What's taking them so much time?
That's right, Tammy. So we were both actually at the press conference on Thursday when we learned from Foreign Minister Choi Yeon and Industry Minister Yohan-go that the Gyeongju Declaration, the leaders' joint statement, is still being negotiated, or it was being negotiated as of yesterday. And it seems that it was taking an unusually long amount of time the day before the leaders' summit opens, right? So we are actually seeing a very, I would say, classic sort of scene that happens at every APEC or international summit, where all the staff are trying to organise what the leaders would like to say. They're trying to say the same thing, amid all this geopolitical backdrop as well. So the wording of the leaders' declaration is always sensitive, and particularly when it comes to trade. The very spirit of APEC, its founding principle, is about open, rules-based and non-discriminatory trade. But some economies might want softer or more flexible wording in light of these geopolitical tensions we're seeing in the region and these sensitivities that we're seeing when it comes to things like industrial policy or supply chains and technological rivalries. So this is what might be taking some time, just those certain tweaks in the wording. So there's that, and there's also a much simpler reason for the delay that the foreign minister himself suggested, which is logistics. So the leaders are having these bilateral summits on the sidelines, and their staff, some of their arrivals here in Gyeongju have been delayed. So you have all these Sherpas, still swapping the text drafts. So it seems that they're still working on it, and hopefully they finalize something by now, because we're really looking forward to seeing the final text tomorrow after their
Right, so it could come
session.
out as late as tomorrow, which is Saturday, the last day of the two-day APEC leaders meeting.
Right, exactly. And there was initially some concern that, like in 2018 or 2019, during President Trump's first term, that the APEC leaders might not be able to reach a joint statement. But it seems that it's not the actual, broader joint statements that's in danger of, not happening, but it's, again, a very customary kind of diplomatic jostling that we see in every international conference, and again, logistics.
Right. Well, if we do realize the Gyeongju Declaration, Professor Lee, what do you think the declaration will actually entail?
Right, so the whole theme of the conference is connectivity, prosperity, as well as innovation. So you expect to see those themes being highlighted in the actual declaration. Just to follow up in terms of what Seung was saying, connectivity is really the big issue, is trade. And so the question will be whether or not any mention of trade will be mentioned, is particularly in free trade, will be mentioned in the actual declaration. And because this is such a hot button issue with the Trump administration, unilateral sort of actions in that area, it's really an open question. But innovation, we have all these tech giants here who are going to talk about AI and how governments and private industry can cooperate. And then of course we have the question of prosperity, because the whole point of the economic forum is essentially to think about how can we prosper together as a group. So I think what you'll expect to see is those highlights there in terms of prosperity, connectivity, as well as innovation.
In line with the common theme, building a sustainable tomorrow, then Professor Lee, what do you think has to be absolutely included in this joint statement?
Right, the big question is commitments. So whether or not there's actually some commitments being made, and also benchmarks in terms of actually going forward with the whole actual meeting itself. So again, whether or not the mention of free trade will be there, which is, I think, on the American delegation will be something which we'll have to watch very carefully. And that may be the reason why it's taking quite some time, because that may be the big sticking point as to whether or not the word free trade, which has been in previous statements, and is the whole basis for APEC itself, it justifies this whole meeting, but whether or not President Trump's insistence on going it alone will actually be the turning point with respect to this declaration.
Definitely. Well, Seong, then other than the joint declaration like Gyeongju Declaration that we are all waiting for, what do you think would constitute a successful APEC leaders meeting in general?
Well, South Korea, perhaps in recognition of this difficulty in reaching, a joint statement on some sensitivities, it's decided to issue two separate documents, actually. The first on AI, so one's going to be called the AI Initiative, and that's going to hopefully try and build some kind of standards on artificial intelligence and how to use it so that all sectors of society and various economies, regardless of size, can prosper. The second one would be about the demographic challenges that Korea itself has been facing, so some kind of framework related to demographic challenges. But beyond that, I would say some notable markers of success might be Korea's push for this AI project for supply chains. So what Korea has done is suggest that countries across the region adopt an AI-based system to be able to narrow the digital divide and be able to use it to perhaps predict and monitor, sudden disruptions to supply chains. And that's what South Korea has already been doing. And with its suggestion, from next year, the South Korean government and the APEC Secretariat, they're going to jointly fund this project so that the regional economies can benefit from this as well. So that's one contribution. And another significant one came from the press conference that Industry Minister Huang gave yesterday. He actually acknowledged this regional rivalry and the trade tensions going on across the world, and he said that the region needs to really adopt open plurilateralism, and of course this needs to uphold the current WTO order as well.
Right.
And what's significant about this, I would say, is that we've heard quite a lot about minilateralism in recent years, and this is, of course, informal gatherings of maybe 2 or 3 countries working together mostly on economic security. But plurilateralism, it seems like a similar concept, but this would perhaps by definition ideally be more broader than, it would include a lot more countries and hopefully be based on the universal kind of commitment to the multilateral order. So what Yang is suggesting is not undermining multilateralism, but he's suggesting a way that really supports multilateralism by going through this sort of mini restructuring. So South Korea here is showing leadership on how to break through this crisis in multilateralism, because for a long time we've been talking about how dysfunctional the UN and the WTO are, but we still want to uphold a rules-based international order. So we're trying to work with what we have basically, and whether South Korea can continue to promote this kind of initiative and show regional leadership in really, pivoting towards a new kind of global trade paradigm, we'll have to wait and see. And I think if Korea manages to do that and see continuity in what it pushes for, then we can see that as an ongoing and lasting success to this Gyeongju summit.
Definitely. Well, this APEC 2025 Korea is one of many APECs that we will have in the near future. Professor Yi, how do you expect the role of APEC to change in the future or in the near future?
Right. I mean, that's really the big question. Is this could be a turning point for APEC because the issues of multilateralism, plurilateralism, or unilateralism, which the United States is obviously pushing for with America First. That I think is really the question, is because economic governance has changed. And from the rules-based international order after World War II, because the United States has really pushed for this America First policy and using not multilateral channels but bilateral channels to be able to do trade deals like he just did with Korea, with Japan, now with China, that is the big question. So if APEC doesn't is not able to sort of promote the underlying values of free trade, then it has to sort of shift to maybe thinking about economic governance, thinking of other ways to sort of encourage sort of prosperity, but maybe within a particularly different model, because the United States is such a big player in this. And so Korea, I think, can play certainly a role to act as a bridge, to maybe bridge between the United States and other economies so that it can adjust this APEC framework, so that it can adjust to the future, so that this multilateral order may prosper, especially for Korea's interests.
Well, shifting gears, Professor Yi, the APEC Day 1 is still not over. The leaders will put their heads together again for the, MAGA dinner that is being hosted by President Lee Jae-myung. Now, what does this banquet really involve other than good food?
Right. So, I mean, at an event like this, you're going to have all the leaders there together, their staff, as well as the tech giants here, the CEOs, and it's really a networking opportunity, essentially, right? Because they have opportunities to see each other at different events, but certainly an event where everyone's gathered here together, you can accomplish so much by interfacing with all of these leaders, all of these business leaders together, so that if there are any issues that they have to deal with, they can deal with it on an informal level and then follow up later. But also for Korea too, it's a demonstration of its soft power. I think this is an opportunity to showcase, where Korea has been and where Korea is going. Obviously, Korea today is just in the middle of everything in terms of culturally, economically, and now even politically. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity for Korea to showcase all the things that's good about it right now. And I think this can propel Korea into the next several years.
Right. Well, Soo-young, then what's your take on the dinner gala that we are waiting for? What does it signify? And tell us more about the menu. I'm talking about the alcohol that they've chosen.
Right. I'm very happy to talk about that. And it's going to be a very premium, multi-course menu, of course, for the leaders. And every dish is going to be layered with meaning. So we're going to see a fusion of Korean and international cuisine, of course, and that obviously signifies, the unity and harmony that we would like to see from the leaders. Also, when it comes to innovation, I believe there are going to be some modern culinary twists to some traditional dishes and ingredients. And of course, the ingredients would give a nod to Gyeongju, the host city of APEC. And Gyeongju is situated in the Gyeongsangbuk-do province,
right.
And that's known for its lush greenery and all this fresh produce. So that's going to be in the herbs, and there's going to be the Korean Hanu beef. So the local sourcing of these ingredients, that would signify, of course, their sustainability. And I have to add here that I'm glad they didn't add the AI elements, because I'm not sure how semiconductors would taste. But yes, so we have a lot of meaning layered in every dish, and the chef Edward Lee, I would say he's the perfect person to be delivering this kind of banquet. Given his multicultural background, he's a Korean American, and his time in the US, that's produced this amazing fusion of southern US cuisine with infusing his Korean heritage as well. So he's going to be bringing that out. And I was interested to see that he's going to introduce his very famous sauce pieces. I would say I'm not a culinary, I'm not very well versed in the world of cuisine, but that's known as samjang or tang in Korean, right? And that's actually a UNESCO registered World Heritage.
It is.
So he's going to be introducing that, and he has this fascination with pine nuts. So I believe that will emerge in one of the sauces.
That's going to be an interesting combination.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting and delightful to look at and delicious, right? So I'm looking forward to that, seeing some footage of that. And of course, the wine and, perhaps the liquor, that always gains attention along with the leader's toast, but we haven't really heard details about that.
Well, I have to turn to Professor Yi for that. What's a gala dinner without a toast, right? President Lee Jae-myung will give a banquet speech. What do you think he'll highlight there?
I think he will obviously talk about the themes of the conference, but I think maybe sort of indicating his vision for APEC, and also I think a vision for his foreign policy. I think this is a prime opportunity for him to, on the world stage at this sort of event, to basically express what does he want to accomplish in his presidency, especially when it comes to maybe China, Japan, the United States. And I think this gives him that platform to be able to go forward with talking about where Korea is in terms of being a state within the midst of these potential crises, but that Korea could play an important role. And so I think he's going to highlight Korea's role with respect to this area of the world, but also even beyond, because I think Korea's influence can't be understated with respect to what's happening not here in Asia, but also beyond.
Indeed. Professor Yi, thank you so much for traveling all the way from Pohang to be with us today.
It was my pleasure.
All right. And also our foreign affairs correspondent, Huang. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
I'm always happy to be with you, Tammy.
And now, as Gyeongju hosts this year's APEC event, the spirit of cooperation continues. This time from Peru, the previous host. Our correspondent Park Gon-woo sat down with the delegation head of Peru for APEC this year to hear lessons learned and the value of keeping the connection going.
At this year's APEC in Gyeongju, Peru, the host of last year's event, is taking part despite the ongoing political instability at home. The country's Minister of Foreign Trade and Tourism, Teresa Mera, who is leading the APEC delegation in place of the president, says it was crucial to travel all the way to Gyeongju.
The situation is going on under the margins of our constitution. We continue in a sustainable manner our national policy to open our country to the world. In that sense, APEC fora is very important for us. This is a fora where allow us to participate along the side of the most dynamic economies around the world.
Having hosted APEC 3 times, she said many agreements were made among members during the previous events. Trade and exchanges with Korea were facilitated even further.
I want to pinpoint the relationship and exchanges between Korea and Peru. Since last year's APEC, what kind of relationships or partnerships have grown ever since in terms of trade, cultural ties, and even tourism?
Korea became the fourth economy in Asia for us. Our trade was got the $2 billion. We are increasing our export to Korea on textiles, not only agricultural products, and also in hydrocarbons. Importing from Korea heavy metals, heavy manufacturers.
And not just heavy materials, but soft ones too.
Beauty shops, more and more you can find Korean products. And also in the media, the influencers are talking more and more about the benefits of Korean beauty products. I use masks for hands, feet, and also the face indeed. I have my selection for sure.
While she says she's faced challenges in terms of diversifying cooperation, the minister says she hopes to broaden cooperation with Korea, especially as the two countries mark the 15th anniversary of their free trade agreement next year.
We are working very closely with Korea in cooperation activities regarding trade facilitation, customs. You have a big experience on that, in particular in the digitalization of these services that are very important because in trade. So we receive cooperation from Korea to develop and implement procedures in our customs authorities and also free trade zones.
And with that in mind, more fruitful outcomes are expected through the APEC meeting.
But there's still a strong commitment from the Korean authorities to still working regarding trade facilitation and also all these technologic aspects. You are a great provider, you are much more advanced than others from Korea. Continue moving forward this agenda that is very important for us because in a more integrated trade.
Okay, Minister Teresa, muchas gracias once again for today's interview.
Gracias a ti. Thank you.
Park Gon-woo, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Among global ambitions dominated by artificial intelligence, South Korea may be at the forefront to spearhead and win in the heated AI race. Now, this is according to a global leader that our Park Jun-han spoke to here in Gyeongju. Take a listen.
With global business leaders gathering here at the APEC CEO Summit Korea 2025 in Gyeongju to discuss the future of the world economy going forward, artificial intelligence, or AI, was one of the key phrases discussed by speakers. And in light of this year's CEO Summit had Deloitte as its exclusive knowledge partner, with its global AI leader Nitin Mittal telling Arirang News that South Korea has the potential to become a leader in AI. But to do this, the country must not only develop its own AI capabilities such as sovereign AI and frontier models, but also focus on exporting its technology, talent, and digital services to the global ecosystem.
It has a lot of natural advantages. It has a technological base already in the country. It has great companies who invest in R&D and have been the titans and the anchor of the economy. So instead of it being Korea for Korea, could it be Korea for the world? Korea for APAC? Because leadership is going to come from not only having your innate capabilities within your jurisdiction, but also actually democratizing it for the benefit of others. That democratization for the benefit of others, making it available to allies, making it available to partners, making it available to the ecosystem is what I would kind of put out there as perhaps a national aspiration that would ultimately lead in regional leadership.
Mittal also touched upon South Korea's sovereign AI model, which serves as a crucial pillar of President Lee Jae-myung's broader pledge to invest 100 trillion Korean won, about $70 billion, in advancing the nation's AI ecosystem and building a system accessible to all Koreans during his term.
There has to be the means of having some kind of a national AI infrastructure so that you're not just 100% reliant on others. It also means having a focus on R&D to have your frontier models, not for the purposes of actually kind of having something that is competitive to what is out there, but for the sheer need for cultural preservation. If all models, or predominantly all of them, are let's say in the English language, how does your language, your heritage, and your culture actually get codified in these models and preserved? That is part of sovereignty too. So sovereignty by design, wherein you have a focus around your preservation and your basically kind of dissemination of culture, heritage, language, etc.
Moving forward, he also said people should use AI as a buddy, not something they should fear. As such, if AI's wide adoption is inevitable, we should be familiar with how to use AI in our daily lives.
Are we really losing a job to an AI system, or are we actually being competitively pressured by a co-worker or colleague who's using AI? Trepidation is okay because it kind of keeps us alert, but the real basically kind of focus needs to be upskilling ourselves, adapting, learning, being curious, and making AI our buddy, not something that we fear.
As the exclusive knowledge partner of this year's APEC CEO Summit, Deloitte says its goal is to both contribute to and learn from the discussions, fostering greater collaboration and shared growth across the Asia-Pacific region. Park Junan, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Meanwhile, First Lady Kim Hea Kyung hosted a special program on Friday for the spouses of 6 APEC economic leaders at Bulguksa Temple, one of South Korea's most renowned UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The event welcomed the spouses of the leaders or representatives from Canada, New Zealand, the Philippines, Singapore, Chinese Taipei, and Thailand, offering them a glimpse into traditional Korean culture, including a cultural lesson session led by monks and a traditional tea ceremony. Kim had also gifted traditional lucky pouches known as bukjumani in Korean, inspired by the recent animated film K-pop Demon Hunters with a hand warmer. The official group photo also took place in front of the Cheongun-gyo and Baegun-gyo bridges. And that is all we have from Gyeongju at this hour. But the official APEC day is not over yet. There's the APEC banquet taking place in the coming hours. And Sunny over in Seoul, we will be back with you later at 8 p.m. Korea Standard Time. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Tame, thank you for now. I'll see you back here for our evening newscast. And here in Seoul Thursday evening, the heads of Nvidia, Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motor Group met for talks over fried chicken and beer. Now that rendezvous has been making local headlines. Our Lee Sing-jae reports.
Leaders of Nvidia, Samsung and Hyundai Motor gathered in Seoul on Thursday to discuss future cooperation in artificial intelligence. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang met with Hyundai Motor Group Executive Chair Lee Jung and Samsung Electronics Chair Lee Jae-yong at a fried chicken restaurant in southern Seoul, where the three shared beer and conversation. Huang recalled first coming to Korea in 1996 after receiving a letter from the late Samsung chairman Lee Gun-hee, who asked for help in connecting the country through high-speed internet. Huang also presented gifts to Jung and Lee with a message reading "To our partnership and the future of the world." He added that Nvidia has been in talks with Samsung on high-bandwidth memory technology, with further discussions planned. Huang arrived in South Korea earlier in the day to attend the APEC CEO summit and meet both Korean and global business leaders. It marks his first visit to Korea since 2010. He also attended an event celebrating the 25th anniversary of Nvidia's GeForce graphics processors. Lee Sung-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, news of a future fleet of South Korean nuclear-powered submarines has been making Japanese headlines, with the media there describing the development as Seoul's move to strengthen national defense. Now, during talks this past Wednesday in Gyeongju, U.S. President Donald Trump shared support for President Lee Jae-myung's calls for such vessels, which the latter claimed were crucial for Seoul to take on the role of a capable defense partner for the U.S. in the Indo-Pacific. Now, Japan's Sankei Shimbun warned this latest development may alarm China, while the Mainichi Shimbun assessed the move as the South Korean government's attempt to reassure its public about North Korea's nuclear advancements. Yomiuri Shimbun, for its part, forecasts that South Korea is likely to move forward carefully to avoid raising regional concerns, given the interest in next-generation submarines in Japan as well.
On the last day of October, we are seeing clear autumn weather. Unlike the cool morning air, the temperature rose significantly during the daytime. There was a large daily temperature difference in areas, including Gyeongju, where world leaders have gathered for the APEC leaders meeting. Rain will begin to fall in the Seoul metropolitan area, northern parts of Gangwon-do province, and the west coast of Chungcheongnam-do province from tonight, and will expand to central regions, to Jeollado provinces, Gangwon-do provinces, and Jeju Island early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, most areas will start off cool at 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. Daytime temperature will rise to 16 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon, 18 degrees in Gwangju, Daegu, and Gyeongju. After the rain subsides tomorrow, a cold wind will blow strongly from Sunday, and it will become cold again. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.